So, American Gladio is happening right now, and our years of lead will be much dumber and worse than the Italian ones, which were very bad for the Italian left. But let's move on. Let's move to Venezuela. Nothing major happened except for the ramping up of rhetoric and the buildup of military forces in the area. So, as we mentioned last week, on September 2nd, the U.S. military did an airstrike on a speedboat or a fishing boat. I'm not clear as to what it was, which was supposedly carrying tren de agua, tren de agua. Does that mean train of water?
Well, that would be kind of cool.
Anyway, tren de agua. 11 people were killed, and the U.S. claims it was a drug boat, even though by the videos of it showed no cargo or anything. It's just people. But so the United States, Venezuela has been ramping up military mobilization, and they buzzed the American destroyers are out there with some F-16s. And in response, the United States has built up an amphibious landing force of what I think they said it's a small amphibious landing force.
Well, right. So they're like 4,500 service personnel.
That's what it is. It's 4,500 Americans.
And 2,000 of those are Marines.
Okay. So, 2,000. And now Maduro has mobilized the militias, which is 4.5 million, and has deployed 25,000 soldiers to some key coastal areas near oil infrastructure. And 284 locations in total are declared armed and ready for response. The U.S. has, as I mentioned, bolstered its military presence, deploying additional naval assets, warships, submarines, increasing intel and surveillance, and notably some F-35s in Puerto Rico, according to The Guardian. And the U.S. officials have warned that flying jets over U.S. Navy destroyers in international waters is provocative. Fucking U.S. Navy vessels being in international waters isn't provocative.
Well, yes, it's provocative, but that's what you do when you're really cool. We're the good guys. We're the best cool guys. We're supposed to be provocative. Everybody's supposed to shut up.
And so the U.S. has provided no proof about the strike or the people killed, and Latin American governments and the global human rights and international law bodies are condemning the attack. As I mentioned last time, Lula condemned the attack and says that the United States presence in the area is destabilizing the region. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, or Tobago, I don't know, how do you say that? Tobago sounds like a toboggan going. But she said that she supports the U.S. and says that drug traffickers should be killed violently as opposed to the other way to kill people. And then, of course, Colombian President Gustavo Petro stands with Venezuela. And
killed violently, as opposed to making them drink hemlock.
Forcing someone to commit suicide is pretty violent too, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
Basically, they should be. What they're saying is that we shouldn't be like Superman and fly around the world to speed up time so that they age and die. Is that what the opposite of killing someone violently would be? Is to make sure they age and die quickly?
I don't know how to respond to that. The answer is yes.
Amnesty International flagged the strike as deeply troubling and violating human rights. It lacks accountability, and it fails all tests of necessity, proportionality, and use of non-lethal means. Why the fuck wouldn't we arrest the people in the boat and show that the Venezuelan government is negligent in taking care of narco trafficking? I'll give you one guess as to why.
Yeah, it might be kind of hard to prove it because it's not true.
Let's see. Oops. What is Just Security? That's this group that...
Wait, Just Security, nothing else? Only security? Or Just Security?
That's what it's called. Just, as in...
fair. This is the just kind of security.
Oh, okay. Just Security is a law and policy journal. Has said that the strike violates legal and moral norms and raises issues about presidential authority, civilian casualty norms, and whether or not there was legal justification for the strike. Jus ad bellum, which is the right to use force, has been called into question by legal experts. Does trafficking narcotics mean that you can kill someone in international waters? The answer before this would be no. And then jus in bello would be conduct in conflict, which is actually called into question as well as to whether that means whether or not the people killed were properly identified as combatants or terrorists. Was their due process followed? And were civilians protected in the process? The answer is no. And it violates international human rights law, the idea that even if these people were terrorists, that they still have universally recognized human rights. On all levels, everyone except for like the sycophants that support the president, both domestically and internationally, have condemned the attack on the so-called drug traffickers. And of course, in the United States Congress, some lawmakers are pushing weekly for oversight, as they do, Right. So if this could be precedent setting, so if this ends up being something that the United States can just do, then Latin American countries are in big trouble. Anytime the U.S. wants to send a message, they could just blow up one of their ships in international waters. And of course, it infringes upon sovereignty of like Venezuela or any other Latin American country that the United States decides it wants to inflict pain on. It just destabilizes diplomatic relations in general.
I mean, as the empire declines, it's almost certainly going to be way more erratic and way more violent. So everyone should just assume, even if it's somehow punished, it's still going to happen again.
Yeah, so things are looking bad in the United States or in the Western Hemisphere in general. I'm bummed. Everything sucks. You know what? I don't have anything about Nepal in here. That seems like an oversight.
I don't really have I know enough about Nepal to say something.
Okay. But I will say that we'll do something else on this probably next week. I would like to give like a little bit of a background on Nepal. There are protests going on in Nepal right now, and they've been pretty violent. Like I think they burned down the parliament, and 51 people have died. 21 protesters, police officers.
Like the prime minister is resigned.
Right. 12,500 prisoners escaped from various jails. The prime minister resigned and fled the country. The Nepali army has been deployed to restore order.
There have been members of parliament who've been stripped and lynched, and some politicians' homes have been burned. Police stations, this is genuinely an uprising.
I've seen the former prime minister being driven through a creek or something, knee deep water with people running behind him, kicking him and hitting him and stuff like that. So shit's going off in Nepal, and I don't quite know what has caused it other than just the complete failure of the government to address the needs of the people. But I'm going to look into this more because Jason and you and I were both really into staying up with what was going on with the Nepali Maoist insurgency and the new government they established in the early 2000s. That was something that you and I would read about and talk about all the time. And we had Maoist friends that we would debate with. This is when we were in our orthotrot days, even before we joined the ISO.
I know people who went to Nepal a couple times as part of what they called international brigades back when the CPN Maoist, not the Unified Marxist-Leninists, which are the other Communist Party, but when the Maoists were not yet in power, before the general strike that toppled the king, ushered in the republic, and they built roads and stuff. And I know a fair bit about Nepal. The main thing is just that we could just say that the Unified Communist Party, the Unified Marxist-Leninist Party, like all of the Nepalese socialism has proven to be an utter failure at addressing any of the economic needs of people. So people are mad, and rightly so, even.
Yeah. Well, we'll come back with more info about that next week. I'd like to do a deeper dive into the background and everything, and what the role of the Nepali Communist Party Maoist, is.
Yeah.
What their role in politics is right now. In other news, you remember that? How much was it? Like a $400 million jet that the people of Qatar gave to Donald Trump?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so in return for that beautiful gift, Donald Trump greenlit an airstrike on Qatar by Israel, completely violating the security agreement that the United States has with Qatar, and killing some Qatari civilians in the process, while Israel was
not killing any of the Hamas leadership. That was the whole point.
Right. So this was a negotiation between the United States and Hamas, set up by Trump's the only diplomat that Trump trusts, which is what's his name? Steve Witkoff. There we go.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so this was a meeting organized by Steve Witkoff between Hamas, between the United States and Hamas, which is supposedly Hamas was getting ready to, or in the process of, accepting another ceasefire brokered by the United States, until the Israelis on the 9th, which is, I guess, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, bombed. What is it? Let's see. They did 12 missiles in different locations in Doha, trying to destroy or to blow up these diplomats that Hamas sent, which is internationally recognized for all of human history to be the most despicable of crimes, to kill negotiators during peace talks. That is just, along with killing children and women, something that you're just not supposed to do, universally recognized as much, unless you're some sort of genocidal ethnic state like the Nazis, which actually I don't think the Nazis even killed diplomats in the middle of peace negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why people say like whenever you start recounting, like, oh, I heard this or that, and you get mad and you start yelling at them, they're like, hey, don't shoot the messenger. Right. That's based on the fact that no one thinks it's okay to shoot the messenger.
Yeah, like Genghis Khan would shoot the messenger, something like that, like barbarians from the Middle Ages. And anyway, like that's in TV and movie tropes, that would be like the behavior of a savage, is to kill the person that is like coming to negotiate peace and to try to end hostilities. Anyway, so moving on.
I mean, King Leonidas does that in 300. He kicks the one guy down the pit, and he's like, "This is Sparta."
Yeah,
that's supposed to be like really cool, right?
Yeah.
So
it's funny. Frank Miller wrote that, and he's like a ridiculous neocon Islamophobe. So I mean, so are the Israelis.
Well, there's a bit of a connection there, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see. I think 7 civilians were killed in the process. And at the time that these civilians were being killed, Hamas was supposedly evaluating a prisoner swap proposal. Let's see. The son of a Hamas leader, his office director, 3 bodyguards, and a Qatari security officer, along with, I think, 7 civilians were killed. The wife and the children of this Hamas guy were killed as well. So, yeah, Israel keeping it on brand, killing women and children during a peace talk. Qatar strongly condemned the attack and called it a blatant violation of international law and a threat to its sovereignty and security, according to the Middle East Monitor. And Netanyahu's office claimed full responsibility. They're proud of it. And, of course, Trump signed off on it. He had to have. Like the Netanyahu would never have struck a meeting that the United States was having unless the United States was fully aware of what was going on. That's the last thing that Netanyahu would do, was piss Trump off in the middle of a negotiation. Unless, of course, he knows that Trump can't do anything about it anyway because, some fucking Epstein stuff or whatever. That's always
that is many people are saying.
Hamas is clearly not cool with the crime either. They're calling it a full-fledged crime and condemned it as an assassination attempt in its effort to destroy the negotiation process, which, of course, is what it was. It's an attempt to destroy the negotiation process. And that's what we talked about a couple articles, I think, the week before last, about how Netanyahu has regularly, since the beginning of the conflict, thrown a bomb into the negotiation process to keep hostages from being released and to keep a ceasefire from happening, because he needs this war to continue. First of all, for his own political goals, and second, to keep him from being arrested. Because as soon as there's not a state of emergency anymore, he's cooked.
I mean, that's at least the assumption, the theory.
Mm-hmm. The UN Security Council has condemned the strikes, and what the fuck are they going to do about it? The United States can just veto any Security Council initiatives.
The same thing with Egypt. They're warning, whatever, they've issued some warning saying that if Israel was to conduct its own kind of attack on suspected Hamas in Egypt, Egypt would consider it a declaration of war and would respond as though they had been attacked.
Yeah.
Israel's
doing what Israel does, violating all norms of diplomacy and war. Okay, so we've talked a lot on this show about the failed sanctions leveled against Russia, and how these sanctions were supposed to, within the first few months of the war, bring Russia to their knees and get them to negotiate, and that didn't happen. But after about a year or so, they said, okay, well, Russia's surely on the brink of collapse now. 2 years later, nothing. 3 years, finally. We're 4 years in, just about, and Russia has been, quote, on the brink of collapse this entire time due to sanctions. But recently, people have started admitting that the sanctions haven't worked the way that they were supposed to. So the European Union passed another set of sanctions that, of course, didn't do anything and won't do anything. And now they're calling on the United States, the European Union is calling on the United States to impose 100% tariffs on India and China, as well as Russia, to bring pressure on Russia to sign a ceasefire with Ukraine.